blast! Lockpick and charm your way across Arcadia in the Outer Worlds 2 with these 11 tips we wish we knew before playing. The floor system from the first Outer Worlds returns, but is quite different than before. Like in the first game, completing certain actions will open up floors to you. For example, if you are routinely stealing things, the game will offer you the kleptomania floor. If you accept it, things you steal will be worth more if you sell those items to vendors. The catch is you will also sometimes steal things automatically when hovering over them. There are way more floors in the Outer Worlds 2, and unlike the first game, there doesn't seem to be a limit to how many you can take. You also can't undo them, and if you take on enough, you will be offered the floored floor, which means future floors the game presents must be taken on in return for additional perk points when you level up. While this is a very fun system, and accepting the floored floor gives a little more consequence to your actions, as well as valuable upgrade points, be very careful and think deeply about the repercussions of undertaking them. As someone that's deep into the game, which has deemed me to be very flawed, the alterations this system has made to the way I play has changed my experience in ways that I did not expect when taking them on. The aforementioned kleptomania flaw, for example, means that oftentimes I steal things before I've even had a chance to know something could be stolen, as my reticle innocently passes over the item, which is then stolen in plain sight, resulting in a decline in reputation with whichever faction rules the region, as well as a hefty fine. This one I might take back if I had the option, but I can't. After the opening mission, you will land at Fairfield on the planet Eden, a planet once controlled by the authoritarian protectorate, but by the time you arrive has been invaded by the megacorporation Auntie's Choice. When you walk into town, you'll hear a blowhard called Huel nattering about their problems as you pass by the saloon. As much as you may not want to, you should talk to him. He'll start up a very short and funny side quest that will result in you getting the double jump. You can't swim in the Outer Worlds 2, so if you're ever fully submerged in water, it's game over. That being said, a lot of map edges actually have secrets and hidden paths that are partially submerged, so just be cautious when exploring these areas and watch your step. The Outer Worlds 2 has tons of loot and junk to forage, and you might be curious as to how much you can actually pick up before you inevitably become encumbered. Well, the good news is the game has completely done away with any form of encumbrance, so feel free to scavenge until your heart is content. Of course, what are you going to do with all that loot? The two ways to handle all the stuff you find is either via selling it for money or breaking it down into materials to craft with. Which avenue you go at any given time will depend on a couple of factors, such as the circumstances you find yourself in and the kind of perks and floors you've taken on. Breaking down loot into materials can be done either at a workbench or, if Niles is in your party, by talking to him, who essentially acts as a very handy walking workbench. If you're looking for a specific material to craft with, while hovering over each item in your inventory will show what they break down into, you can actually filter your inventory for specific materials by selecting said material in the upper left-hand list in the breakdown menu, and you can see exactly what loot you have that can offer you that material specifically. Of course, some loot will serve you more than just to be broken down into materials or sold for cold hard cash. You'll actually want to equip some of the items you come across, whether that be weapons, armor, or throwables. But how do you know if what you have in your inventory is better than what you have equipped? If you're playing with a controller, the menu says to press on the left thumbstick for comparison. What this does is lock the selected gear's info on the screen so you can thumb around to other equipment to compare the two. However, what the game doesn't tell you is if you simply want to compare that item just to what you have equipped, simply press A, and it will automatically bring up both items information on the screen. Companions in the Outer Worlds 2 have a great degree of connection and reactivity to the player, so much so that if you continue to behave in a way that they don't like, they'll turn on you. This can result in them choosing to leave your squad, or worse still, actually attack you if they believe you're standing in the way of their own goals.
Are you daft? Do you understand how diplomatic I am being simply by staying my hand?
If you perform an action that affects company's disposition toward you, either positively or negatively, this will be remembered, notification will appear. And don't worry, they won't just all of a sudden raise their weapon against you. Players will receive a clear indication that a relationship is going south, and will be provided an opportunity to rectify things if they do so. Like any RPG, there are a ton of things to do in the Outer Worlds 2 outside the main storyline. Not only can side quests in the game offer you invaluable mechanics such as the double jump, but they can sometimes tie into mainline quests as well. For example, the companion Inez has a side quest that asks you to hunt down 2 different alien species in order to graft them onto her mutated arm. One of these beasts also happens to make its lair right where a path into the Vox Relay, the main set piece of Fairfield, can be found. This path allows you to get into the relay much faster than any of the more direct routes. If you are downed in the game, you will be reset to your last save point. However, if you have a trauma kit, you can instantly revive yourself back to full health. That being said, that trauma kit has to be applied to you by a companion. So if both of your companions are downed and you then also perish, the trauma kit solution will not be available to you no matter how many you have in your inventory. Fortunately, companions can be revived by standing next to them and holding down the interaction input for a few seconds. So if you're in a tough fight, both your companions are down, and you want the added insurance of having a trauma kit available if you also go down, you'll need to prioritize your companion's well-being ASAP. The Outer Worlds 2 has made its conversational systems much deeper than in the previous game, with almost every dialogue with an NPC able to be directed by skills and perks. In addition, information you learn by reading terminals, talking to other characters, or discovering in audio tapes can open up numerous additional dialogue options when speaking to characters. More often than not, early into my playthrough, I would be conversing with a character, and the game informed me that a dialogue option was locked out because I hadn't learned the relevant information. Sometimes there were multiple dialogue options I was locked out from. As I made my way further into the game, I conversed with more and more NPCs and interacted with the world a bit deeper, which opened up a lot of dialogue options going forward. While systems like these are nothing new to the RPG genre, the game has some of the deepest interplay mechanics that I've seen this side of Baldur's Gate 3. Definitely dive headfirst into them to get the most rewarding RPG experience. The Outer Worlds 2 has added radios that play music, provide news bulletins, and flesh out the world with dialogue that gives you greater context into Arcadia, its factions, its colonies, etc. To turn on the radio, you need to go into the journal menu and then tab over to wireless, where available radio stations will be toggleable on and off. Bear in mind, not all radio stations are available in every location, with their availability dependent on the context of the current region you find yourself in. And those are the 11 tips we wish we knew before playing the Outer Worlds 2. For more on the game, stay right here on GameSpot.